Hi, guys. Welcome back to another week, another episode of Unlicensed. My name is Jill. I'm the host of Unlicensed, and this is the podcast where real women write in anonymously about anything that they're dealing with on the day-to-day basis, whatever is in your heart, whatever is on your mind. And I'm joined by my different female guests each week, including relationship coaches, therapists, friends, family, and social media influencers to help offer you advice on those topics. I'm so excited for today's episode. We are joined by licensed therapist and dating and relationship coach, Dr. Ibbie. She specializes in attachment-based therapy, childhood and relationship trauma, interpersonal relationships, anxiety, and codependency. And her goals help people build their resilience, heal past traumas, and break free from any unhealthy patterns. I'm so excited to have you here today. I did so much research on you over the past couple days, and we were already joking that podcast is in your wheelhouse. You've got this down. I'm excited for the people to get to know you as well, but welcome to the studio. Welcome to Unlicensed.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
As you guys know, we like to get to know our guests a little bit more. So starting off with you graduated from Armstrong State University in 2016 with your BS in health science. You had a public health concentration. Then about 2 years later, you attended South University where you began pursuing your master's in clinical mental health counseling. And then about a year after that, you began pursuing your PhD in social psychology from Liberty University. Obviously, we hear all the time that Black women are some of the most educated people in this world, and obviously you have so much education under your belt. I'm really interested in how higher education has played a role in your life, both professionally and personally, and is it something that was really important to your family growing up and was taught in your household as you were growing up as well?
Yeah, it definitely is something that is huge in my family, just like being educated. I think it was kind of like an understood, like you just go to college.
Yeah.
I don't think we really talked about it. It's like you just go to college. That's what you do after high school. And then after that, I mean, college, undergrad, I didn't even want to be there.
Oh, really?
I did not care to be there. I was like, I'm doing this because I'm supposed to do this. Like, I'm never doing this ever again. I'm done with this. So after that, I took like a year off and I was just living my life, having, great vibes, great times. And then I was working as a bartender. And people will come to the bar and they're talking about their relationships and all the things. And all my coworkers are talking about all the things and relationships and situationships. I was like, something's going on here. I'm sensing a theme going on. And I'm like, okay, I want to study that more. Something in like therapy, counseling, about relationships. So I pursued my master's. And then after that, I wanted to focus on attachment theory because I was working with clients. I became a coach. I was working with clients with different attachment styles. And the hardest case for me to crack was the dismissive avoidant. I was like, okay, we got the anxious girlies, fearful avoidant girlies, we got this. But then the dismissive avoidance, I'm like, I cannot crack this case. So that's what I studied with my social psychology program. I was like, how do dismissive avoidants become more securely attached? So it was really just pursuit of knowledge, more so than like wanting degrees. I was just like, I need to know this stuff.
General interest and curiosity, which is so important. I was reading that you did find, and we're going to dive into attachment theories in the episode and everything because that's your wheelhouse. I'm so excited to go into that. But I was reading that you, like you just mentioned, were interested in pursuing, psychology and mental health because of your bartending days. You're hearing all these stories from people and you're seeing the similarities between their stories. Was there a specific moment during your bartending days that it clicked for you? You were talking to someone and you're like, damn, I really want to go back to school and learn more about this? Or was it just a culmination of all of those little moments from the people that you were working with, the people coming into the bar? I definitely have been one of those people that is venting to my bartender about my day, about, dating and everything as well. So I'm interested in how that really came about as you were bartending.
Yeah, I want to say it was my coworkers. I mean, shout out to my coworkers now that I think about it.
Shout out, yes.
Yeah, they would always, come to me. They would talk to me about things. And like, you know how to really listen without judgment and kind of like hear us out and provide, solicited advice. Only when it's asked, Yeah. And they're like, you're really good at this. I'm like, I never thought about it before. But it was like at the same time, I was also having these kind of like epiphanies. Like it was kind of like want to teach parents how to help their children and be better parents so their kids can develop healthier relationships as they get older. At the time, I didn't know that was attachment theory related, but I was like, maybe we need to work on the parents to help the kiddos.
Starts there, right? Yeah.
So it was like, initially I started working with kids at one point. I worked with kids for a bit, I worked with adults. Did it all, but I want to say my coworkers. That was probably them, now that I think about it.
It makes sense because you're spending a lot of time with them and you guys have built that level of trust that they feel comfortable enough to open up to you, which I think is really important. You just mentioned, which I think is super important, that people said that you had a gift for this in terms of you being able to not judge their situation or their experiences. I think it's really easy to do that on the opposite side. You're listening to a friend's story and you're sitting there like, I would never do something like that. Then you find yourself in the same situation, 3-4 weeks later. What advice would you have for someone who finds themselves continuously judging their friends' experiences, situations? How can they shift their mindset to be less judgmental when they're talking to their friends about what's going on in their life? Even if it's a little bit messy, because we all get into that sometimes.
Yeah, I actually wrote an article recently, Why We Judge Others.
Okay, I hear about this.
We're conditioned to do that just based on, like, we were judged. A lot of us were judged growing up. How we sit, how we act, how we talk, how we blink, how we walk, just everything. We're just under a microscope all the time. So I think it's natural for people who grew up like that to just automatically see areas of opportunity for other people without looking within first. Yeah. And a lot of the time it's reflective of ourselves. So we see things in other people that either we wish we could do or have the freedom or courage to do, or something that like we've had happen internally before. We just never expressed it, or we just never showed anybody or told anybody. So maybe it's like, oh, I would never do that, but how do you know?
Like in a month from now, you might find yourself in the same exact situation.
Yeah. And then just having more empathy, because people are doing what they can to survive. And that's really all it is. We're trying to survive out here in relationships and life and career. And that's their way of surviving at that point in time. Let them live. Let them live.
Let them live. I love the empathy point of that. I think it's really important to approach situations, because when you're in that same situation, potentially later on, you want people to show that same grace to you. Obviously, you don't want your friend to be in an unsafe situation, but if they're maybe going back to someone that's not great for them, practicing empathy and being there for them and helping them rather than judging them in that situation, I think is really important.
And people come to you more when you are less judgmental. So you can reach your friend better if you really think they're in a situation they shouldn't be in. You can reach them better if you're not being judgmental about it. Definitely. Like, you're like, I'm here for you. Like, maybe I don't understand this decision you're making here, but there's a reason you're doing that. And I trust you enough as a friend that you're doing this for a reason. It suits you, it benefits you in some way. Yeah. Maybe there's something deeper I'm not aware of, but as your friend, I'll be there for you and know that you'll probably come to me if I'm just open and understanding.
When people coming to you, I want to actually expand on that a little bit more. Did you ever find yourself in situations where people were coming to you to the point that you felt emotionally drained and you felt like you needed to set boundaries with certain friends that they knew, hey, I'm here for you, but I'm not your full-time therapist. Unless you book me online, set up a little consult, then we can talk later. But did you ever find yourself in a situation? I'm thinking, I want to ask this question for the people listening in that are that therapy friend, and they might feel like sometimes friends might be taking advantage of their time in that sense, thinking that they only can come to them when they need something and they need to vent and get your advice, rather than just sometimes sitting in that space with you or being there for you in that way that you may need as well.
That's an interesting one. Yeah, because some people, it happens so often that you just wear that identity. Like, you don't even realize you're drained.
You don't realize you're doing it half the time.
You don't realize you're doing it. You're just doing it. You're just in that loop. So I want to say for me, a lot of the time it was that, or it is that still sometimes. Like, I just do it. It just happens. I'll get a call and I'll listen. It is what it is. So I don't know if I stick my emotions in there as much anymore. Maybe starting out, maybe years ago, like with my clients, I would I want to be the best therapist ever. And I would wear the things that they were wearing and the burdens they were holding. And I'm doing my research. How can I help this person? And now I think I'm much better at compartmentalizing.
Good. Kind of having that separation a little bit more. I think that's so important. I definitely was that friend in college to the point that there would be some people coming to me and I knew every time that they wanted to get dinner, it was just going to be a therapy session. And I was like, I should start charging people on Venmo, send me a couple dollars here and there.
I want to talk about relationships all freaking day. So it's bring it. Let's talk about it.
And that's your gift. Not everybody could do that. And I think that is so beautiful that that's a big part of you. I know a big part of your journey too, and you mentioned it earlier with us talking, is that you obviously work with kids as well as, adults. And something that I was reading on that was really interesting is that you said that you can really look into how the process happens all the way through adulthood from childhood and how they really can mirror each other. I'm interested what situations you typically see in childhood, maybe if you're working specifically with younger girls, which situations do you see typically stemming into adult women entering these toxic cycles of relationships? What might be happening and starting in someone's childhood that leads to them going through these toxic cycles, non-committal relationships as adult women?
Yeah. Learning that love comes with conditions. Like, you're not really heard. You're not allowed to really express yourself how you want because, you know, it goes against what the parents think. Or anytime you have a feeling, it's dismissed or minimized or rejected. And maybe not intentionally. I think a lot of our parents didn't grow up in a world where they were getting this much self-help and reading up on these things and listening to these podcasts like our generation is doing.
Yeah.
So they're just doing what had been done to them and teach you to stay in a child's place. You don't have feelings. You don't have opinions. Like, what do you think that is? So then you grow up and get into relationships where your opinions aren't heard. You don't feel like you can express yourself. Your feelings are invalidated. There are these push-pull dynamics because you learned in childhood that the same place you get love from is the same place you get hurt.
Ooh. It's so fascinating because I think even looking back at my childhood, and I think a lot of people can resonate with this, you're in these situations and you can see how you may not have been heard or appreciated. And you think, I would never be in a relationship that felt that same way as I did when I was 6, 7, 8, all the way up until the time that you left your household. And then you see it in so many women choosing that exact person or partner that reminded them of a parent or reminded them of that feeling that they had in their household.
Yeah.
How can women slowly begin to break those cycles then? Within that, I feel like that's so hard. That's something I'm actually kind of battling with right now as well. I, for example, have said that I really want a curious, inquisitive man in my life, but I always go for men that I'm the one always asking them questions and they're kind of sitting back pretty and we have a connection because, you know, I'm asking you and getting to know you, but I usually don't go for guys that are trying to get to know me. I was a middle child growing up. So a lot of the time it's like the oldest and the youngest were getting that love attention. And I kind of felt like I had to prove myself in some way or be the best in sports or education or whatever to get that sort of love back. So I kind of see that cycle happening in myself. And I'm interested for women that are listening in that can resonate to how I'm feeling in maybe a different situation, how we can slowly begin to actually break that cycle.
Yeah, I think firstly becoming aware. I think a lot of people aren't aware of the parallels. You know, like I'll start talking with my clients and I'm like, by any chance, like, do you think that you didn't feel heard or validated as a kid? And they're like, no, my mom was great. My dad was great. And they're not realizing that little things can be considered abandonment wounds. Not having your feelings validated, that's a form of an abandonment wound.
Wow.
Feeling like you can't be yourself because you're going to get shamed, judged, criticized, that's a form of abandonment. So it's like learning, being aware of, okay, so maybe there were some things that happened that I internalized differently than was intended. And am I seeing those patterns play out in these people? Okay. Because we are attracted to what's familiar, whether it's safe or healthy or not, whatever is familiar, whatever feelings we've had. So it's like getting to the root of that, identifying what subconscious core beliefs we developed as a result of that. So if we're going to do it based on attachment styles, anxiously attached people usually have the core wound of, I'm not good enough, so I'm going to be abandoned. Fearful avoidance usually have, I'm not good enough, so I'm going to be rejected.
Oof.
Dismissive avoidance, I'm not good enough, I'm defective. I don't want anyone to see that, so let's stay away. So identifying your core wounds and then kind of going from there. Like, how can I work with my subconscious to get it to believe that I am good enough? Like, I don't need to settle for these things, and changing the patterns that we're attracting. As soon as you see some type of familiar pattern, you know it's time to exit.
Yeah.
Rather than
Time to
sticking
get
it out.
out.
Yeah. Like, once you see the patterns because you've identified, like, oh, I'm seeing a thing here. I'm seeing a theme. It's less, we're not going to stay and try to fix it. We're not going to stay and try to prove ourselves. We're just going to take that as the signal to exit.
Let's go.
Yeah.
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 I love the point that you brought up of the self-awareness and I love that the questions that you're asking your clients, because it is so easy to be like, especially with media, oh, my childhood was not crazy at all. It was nothing. Seeing, you know, these like very extreme stories that you're like, oh my gosh, both of my parents were in their house. They came to my games, but there are those little moments of things that can really trigger some of those wounds that you have. So we'll get into attachment styles in a little bit. I'm so excited for that. My last question for you is, I want to talk a little bit about your book. And you wrote The Tales of a Situationship. This is for anyone who has cycled through a situationship or a toxic relationship. I think it's so amazing that you wrote this on situationships. I think situationships are talked about more, but when it comes to research, personal anecdotes, anything related to it, I don't see as many memoirs, books, documentaries, anything about situationships. It's usually about marriage or like dating and commitment. Talk to us about why you specifically wanted to write this book surrounding situationships. Because for me, who's only been in situationships, I'm about to order this book, girl. Okay, needed.
It was just, that's a lot of what my business started on when I started coaching, was just a lot of situationships. And that's what I was seeing at the bar when I was bartending. Everybody was in a situationship. Nobody was in a committed relationship. I myself. Disclaimer. Yeah. A lot of it too. That's a lot of why I started my journey, because I was working in that environment and had a person there that I was dealing with. And it was very back and forth, push, pull, up and down, but non-committal, weird, whatever. Thank goodness we're out of that.
Thank you, Lord.
But I think I was seeing a lot of that. I'm like, why is everyone going through the same thing here? So it started, it's a book of poetry and prose, like starting from, fireworks. Like, this is when things feel good and everything's going great. And then we move into like, I'm trying to think of the order in which I wrote this. Like starting to pull back, when things start to get pulled back and now you're feeling confused. So I think the next chapter is like confusion. And then after confusion, there's like guilt, because you're like starting to feel like, did I do something wrong? And then there's denial, like, oh, no, we're good. And then there's like you're wanting to walk away, but then they come back and they start acting normal again. And it's all of that was happening, and everyone could resonate with that story. So I would talk to women from everywhere, like Africa and Canada, Australia. They would hop on my Zoom and would be telling me these stories, and I would sit there and map it out for them. And they're like, oh, other people go through this too? So I was like, this is a thing.
Yes. You breaking down the chapters, I'm smiling right now because I'm like, yes, we've all been there. You have that instant chemistry connection. Then you guys start dating, it's really intense, and then you start to feel them pulling back a little bit, and then they might ghost you, which we'll talk about in a little bit as well. And then they might come back a couple weeks later and don't take any accountability for that, and you just feel so confused and in constant flight or fight mode the entire time. I think we all can relate. And I hate that we all can relate, because it's something that I don't want people to have to go through, but in the sense, it's nice that we can all relate, just to feel less lonely in the sense of the craziness of a situationship and all the reasonings behind why someone may not want to commit. So I'm excited. People, I'll let you plug the book and everything at the end of the episode. It sounds amazing. But thank you so much, Dr. Ibbie. We're going to get into the episode for today. But first, a word from our sponsors. Guys, today we are sponsored by Plot Twist. This is the dating app that allows you to put connection and safety first. It was founded by two female healthcare providers whose mission is to tackle the loneliness epidemic, focusing on emotional, relational, and physical well-being. All things that you guys know are so important to me here at Unlicensed. We talk all the time about why women specifically might be afraid to get on the dating apps. The first is obviously general anxiety. I'm afraid to put myself out there, people looking at my profile, judging me based on it. It's a scary thing. And the second reason is obviously safety. I don't want to meet up with a stranger by myself with nobody around me. This is freaking me out a little bit. So this dating app is so cool because you are matched up with other pairs with your bestie, making dating just more fun, more social, and ultimately safer. As women, I think that safety factor is so important, and being able to date with your best friend and then two other pairs just makes it more fun in that sense too. So if you guys want to get started on your dating journey today, head to the App Store, type in Plot Twist, use code Unlicensed, uppercase or lowercase, or head to my Instagram at Unlicensed Advice. It's linked to my bio, and we will get you guys started on your dating journey today. I love when we do the dating episodes because it's a perfect segue. It's a perfect segue for the sponsors. Yeah, go check it out. Go check it out, guys. I am so excited for today's episode. This is a topic that I've been trying to talk about for a very long time. We are talking about ghosting in dating. For anyone listening in that's like, what's ghosting? I don't know what that is, even though you probably have been ghosted or may have even been the ghoster on the opposite side. This is for anyone who basically has cut off contact with someone without giving that person any warning or explanation for doing so. We typically see it in dating, so today we're going to break it down. We're going to explain why it happens, some of the consequences that may come from it, how attachment styles and theory are really based into it at all. So This person wrote in and they said, Jill girl, I've been out here trying to date but every time either I'm ghosting someone or they're ghosting me. How do I avoid this? How do I speak my truth? How do I leave things right no matter the situation? I'm really excited for this episode today because I think most people have been ghosted at least once. If you haven't, teach me your tricks. I have no idea how you haven't. It's incredible. But before we dive into what ghosting actually is and more questions surrounding that, I actually want to dive more into understanding attachment theory and how that may play a role into ghosting. For someone listening in today that doesn't know the different attachment styles, I would love for you just to break down what the different attachment styles are. Give just a brief definition, maybe an example of what this may look like in a relationship, so we can kind of use that as our basis for talking about ghosting too.
Yeah, okay. Attachment styles are just the way in which our patterns that developed based on subconscious core beliefs and how we view the world and view ourselves. So we act based on how we view the world, view ourselves, based on things that have happened to us, usually between the ages of 0 and 8.
Wow, I didn't know it was that young.
Very young. Wow. Yeah, they usually say by age 3, but I like to give it a little bit more wiggle room just because, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's how we view the world and view ourselves, view people, view relationships. Like, are they trusting? Are they not trusting? Are they unworthy? Are they not trustworthy? Just how we view people, how we act based on how we view people and how we view ourselves. So yeah, so we'll start with the anxiously attached. You know, it gets a lot of press all over the internet. Anxiously attached people, I always say, are the best lovers. Like, they're going to love and overgive and overdo, but usually at the expense of themselves, because they have that core wound that I'm not good enough and I'm going to be abandoned. So let me just do and give and show up and people please and do all the things so I'm not abandoned. Then we have fearful. Well, let's start with dismissive because that's on the opposite end.
Okay, I love that.
The complete opposite end. And these people grew up having to be self-reliant, like getting pushed to independence very early. Maybe they had a sibling come along and their parents now focus all the attention on the sibling. Maybe they just had parents who were really busy, or parents who were distracted a lot, and they just were like, okay, well, I got to figure things out on my own. I got to make my own sandwich. I got to tie my own shoes. I got to do my own stuff. And they felt like they couldn't go to anybody. So now they view the world as like, well, you do you, I do me. Yeah. I'm on my own island. You do your thing, and I can only rely on me. And they have subconscious beliefs of I'm defective. Like, there must have been something wrong with me if my parents didn't pay that much attention. Wow. And then for fearful avoidant, it's a combo package. That's what I call it, the combo package.
Double one, come on.
Yes. It's a combination of anxious and dismissive avoidant. So they have like that push-pull because they get anxious about things, but then they shut down to protect themselves. And then they might come back again, but then they're just like in this space of, I can't really trust that love is going to be safe, but I also really want it. So like, how do we make this happen? So there's that push-pull dynamic. And that usually, they say that that's more associated with some of the bigger T traumas, like actual physical abandonment of a parent, or like volatility in the home, or like things like that. Usually fearful avoidants have a lot more of the bigger T traumas. So they develop the, you know, I'm not good enough, so I'm going to be rejected. Love is not coming, or maybe it is. And then there's the back and forth that they have. Yeah. So, and then we have secure attachment. So this is what we strive for. Yes. Obviously there's no bad attachment style, but if you can develop more secure patterns, you probably will have healthier relationships. So people who are securely attached, they usually grow up in environments where they were heard, they were seen. People came to meet their needs when they needed to. People gave them space when they needed space. Their parents allowed them to have a voice, have an opinion. Parents knew how to attune to them, or parents or caregivers, whoever they were raised by, knew how to attune to their needs and treat them like a human. Treat them like a human. And they grew up knowing how to handle relationships fairly well, knowing how to emotionally regulate, trusting that the world is safe, trusting that people are safe, trusting that if they get into a relationship and it fails, that doesn't mean anything about them. It's okay. Let's do another relationship. Sure. Yeah. And people can develop secure attachment patterns over time, and that's called earned security. So maybe they didn't grow up in, environments that met all their needs, but they learned how to meet their needs over time and can show up in, healthier in relationships.
Definitely. It's something that's still attainable, which I think is very important for people to remember. I was watching an interview and let me know if this has changed, because this was a few months ago. You said you were a fearful avoidant in the interview. I'm interested if that has changed.
Okay.
I want to know, as a fearful avoidant, because I'm also a fearful avoidant. I did my little quiz the other day, but seriously, we're a little, that back and forth.
Yeah.
All of the above. How has that looked like for you in the past in terms of ghosting people? Have you ever ghosted someone, and how has your own attachment style, being fearful avoidant, played a role into that, do you think?
If you would have asked me like 2-3 years ago, I would have been like, no, I've never ghosted anybody. But I felt like I had a conversation with someone that I had dated years ago, and they're like, yeah, you ghosted me. I was like, what?
They said, let me call you out since you forgot, okay?
Yeah, I had no idea, because in my mind, I was like, how could I have ghosted you? We still ran in the same circles. We were having conversation.
Yeah.
In my eyes, it didn't seem to be ghosting. So
Right.
like, what is ghosting really? But they were just like, I kind of just dipped out. I didn't give really much of an explanation. Even though we were still having general conversation, it was
Yeah.
like I ditched the whole dynamic that we had created.
Yeah.
So I guess I didn't see it as ghosting, but it is. Now that I think about it, it probably was, because I didn't provide the explanation. I just disappeared. So
Yeah. You said, head it out.
I guess I'm guilty of ghosting.
I feel like most people have done it at least once. And within attachment theory, I'm really interested in what styles do you see probably being the ghoster more often, and then on the opposite side of that, the ghosty more often, and why? I just asking that, I feel like maybe an anxious attachment style might be ghosted more often, just because they're the person that they're so afraid of being abandoned that they may never actually leave that person, so they might find themselves just on the receiving end. Versus someone avoidant, I could see them being like in a situation like you just mentioned, even though we run in the same circles, I'm avoiding that conversation and that confrontation with you for whatever reason, and we'll dive into communication and how it plays a role as well. So I'm really interested in how the different styles, which one do you think is typically the ghoster in the situation, and then the ghosty, and why?
I would definitely say it's one of the avoidance, but
Okay.
I've been battling with which one, because what I've seen is dismissive avoidance might say something actually. They're like, oh, I have a lot going on. Oh, my uncle's in the hospital. Oh, my dog. I need to feed my dog. I need to feed my dog. Like, I've noticed that things might be going seemingly well. And then when it's going too well, now they have a lot going on.
All of a sudden, you
all of
got
a sudden.
10 promotions at work, and you're going to Hawaii with your family. You didn't say anything about this a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, so I'm like, okay, maybe it's the fearful avoidance that ghosts more. Maybe because they do have that anxiety a little bit, but they also have the people-pleasing thing too that anxious people have. So maybe they just don't want to confront it. They don't want to let people down. They don't want to hurt someone's feelings.
Yeah.
So I'm like, maybe because that's back to my story. That's exactly what it was. Like, I didn't know how to confront it. I didn't want to hurt his feelings.
Yeah.
So I just vanished. So I'm like, what if that's really the number one ghosters are the fearful avoidance?
Honestly, that makes sense though, because you're right. An avoidant, maybe them making up something isn't right, but at least they're letting that person know that they can't continue on in the relationship, which is in a weird way some sort of closure for that other person. When that person confronted you, did it click for you in that moment? Like, oh, I did that, or did that take years and some time to process to actually agree with that person of, okay, I've done that? At first, were you in denial of, I didn't ghost you? What
I
are
just
you
didn't
talking
remember.
about?
I don't remember anything about it. It was years later. I did not remember. I was like, I don't think that's possible. For one, we work together. You're my coworker. How am I ghosting you? I see you every day. So I didn't see it that way. But then looking back, I'm like, okay, I did up and leave. Thief in the night. And I didn't say anything.
You were at your cubicle.
So maybe, yeah. So yeah, I did see it after, a day or two. I was like, okay, actually, maybe. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I mean, I apologized. I think it was deserving of an apology because I didn't remember and I didn't know that's what it was at the time. But looking back, I'm like, okay, maybe the fearful avoidance, but then maybe even the anxious, because maybe they are, if they go on a date with someone and they're just like, ugh, I'm not feeling this. They're not going to want to tell the person that.
That's true. They're so anxious about it that they're like, I'd rather just keep it moving.
Or maybe they won't ghost. Maybe they're more likely to keep it going even if they're not into it. I've seen that too with anxiously attached people. Like they just keep it going.
Why is that? Does that stem back to just the fear of being abandoned with them? They'd rather be in something that doesn't feel good to them and they're settling, but that is better than that fear of being abandoned and rejected in that sense for them? Is that how their minds are working?
I'm imagining so, yeah. That's usually what it is. It's like, I don't want to be abandoned and this is something, but then also I don't want to make people feel bad. So I'm just going to sit here and deal with this and give in rather than get what I actually want.
Yeah. That's so difficult too. And I do want to expand on that. It's really cool to hear how attachment theory plays a role into it, because it is based, almost everything we do in our life in terms of relationships is based from that as well. I do want to dive into technology and its role within this, because I think with modern day technology, there really shouldn't be an excuse of ghosting someone, because there's so many ways that you have access to someone. We have Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn. I've been going through people's Venmo transactions, and I can find out. Yeah, I'm a little crazy though. I'm a little crazy. Obviously, when our parents were growing up, I think it would be easier to ghost in that sense because they had a landline. And if you get set up on a blind date or you meet someone out and you guys go grab drinks that same night and you don't get their number, you may never run into that person again. And if you didn't have a good time, it's really easy to distance yourself and not, honestly, in a sense, feel too guilty because there's no way of having access. But nowadays, there isn't an excuse. But I think because people are so disconnected through technology that there's less empathy, and it's easier for people just to put their arms out and say, I don't really care. I'm going to keep it moving and I don't need to give this person an explanation. Yeah. And ghosting obviously hurts. How do you think modern day technology has played a pivotal role and made an impact on ghosting rates increasing potentially?
I think they're like lower levels of investment, especially if you meet on a dating app. You're having a couple conversations and then it goes on for a few days, maybe a week or so. And then they vanish into the night. It's like there was low investment because there hasn't been a phone call, hasn't been a FaceTime, hasn't been a hangout. So I'm imagining on the dating apps, it's like, can we even call that ghosting? It's like, fair. Do you even know this person? I mean, I don't know. Because this girl on TikTok, she was like, even after a first date, if it's just one date and you guys don't say anything to each other again, is that really ghosting?
I was thinking, what do you think? Because I was going to ask you that too. I've done that before where I've gone on a first date with someone and we're both just not vibing, and I don't really feel any sort of way if you don't text me, because I'm probably not going to text you. My minimum is like, if you go on 2 or 3 dates, I think there needs to be a conversation. But one date, unless if you haven't been texting that much, I think you can kind of keep it moving. But I'm interested to hear your thoughts. Maybe that's like my attachment style kind of coming into there.
Yeah, I just think it'd be nice, and considerate and courteous if we just all as a society would say something.
Yes.
Like, hey, I had a good time, but I don't really see a romantic connection, or, something like that, or I don't know, anything really. I feel like anything's better than something, or nothing. Sorry, anything's better than nothing, because you're just going to leave that person in a sea of questions. And a sea of questions can lead to filling in the blanks with all other kinds of stuff. Then you become super anxious, and then you might be attributing it to yourself. Did I do something? Was something weird? What's going on? And then there's just that sea of hope too. I think you're leaving things open rather than just, if you say something, it's like, okay, I know I can close the door now. So I just think anything is better. But I see what you mean. Like on the first date, nobody said anything because you guys weren't vibing. But maybe if someone would have just been like, hey, I mean, or maybe you didn't have a decent time, but hey, thanks for the date.
You can throw him a bone over that. That's okay.
Yeah. Thanks for the date. That's probably going to be our last.
I won't be seeing you again. So it is what it is. No, that's so true. I mean, that obviously comes down to, people having communication difficulties. As a therapist, I'm really interested if you could explain what is happening in someone's childhood typically that leads to them maybe having trouble communicating honestly about that. I think in the past, everybody's been in a situation where maybe someone likes you or going on a date, and that person might really be into you, and you can tell that they are, but you're just not feeling it. And sometimes it's hard to find those words for some people, not all people. Some people can communicate effectively and honestly, and I'm trying to get there. But in other situations, it's so hard to just tell them, hey, I'm not really feeling this in some ways. What is happening in someone's childhood that doesn't allow for them to communicate honestly if they're dating someone that they are not really feeling, but you obviously don't want to ghost them?
Yeah. Usually if you felt like you had to be responsible for somebody's feelings growing up. Like, I can't say this thing or they're going to get mad or they're going to shun me. They're going to give me the silent treatment. They're going to throw a tantrum. They're not going to give me dinner. They're going to, whatever it is. I can't say how I feel because I have to keep this person happy. And as children, it's usually our caregivers. They have to keep a roof over our head and food on the table for us. And as kids, we know that. We need these people to survive.
Yes.
So let's please them so we can survive. And then that just translates. It gets ingrained in us.
Wow.
And now we're just doing that throughout life. Even though we know we don't need these people to survive, it feels like if I disappoint this person or make them feel bad, it's going to feel like a loss of survival or a lack of survival.
Wow. It's really cool, the people pleasing aspect of that. And obviously there's some part of it that might be selfish in the sense, and I say people pleasing can be a little bit of selfishness sometimes.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Because you don't want this person to be mad at you, right? It's like a little bit of your ego in that way, but it is really cool to hear about that person feeling like they might disappoint that person. That goes back to what you were saying about the anxious attachment style earlier, that may lead to them not having that honest conversation. Outside of communication, what are some other reasons that lead people to ghosting someone? Like lack of interest. I want to hear some of the reasons that you
like
think
just
that
like
might,
general.
just in general, for someone listening in that thinks that they may have never ghosted someone before, and then they're like, wait, I think I have done this, but why?
Yeah.
I kind of want to give them a few ways that they can really reflect on some past situations of why they may have gone down that route of ghosting.
Yeah. So just, I would say like low levels of investment or lots of options, apparently, the illusion of options. It being societally okay. Like, I think people just do it and are used to doing it and are used to it happening to them, that it's like, oh, it's not that big of a deal. I'm never going to see this person again. Or I'm going to see them on Instagram. I don't need to text their phone. So I'm thinking it just becomes commonplace and there's no repercussions. Like, it's not going to come back to bite me, so I don't care.
And then people don't think about like the long-term consequences that they might have on that person or themselves from doing it. Which is crazy because we kind of started to talk a little bit about some things that might happen to you as a person who may have been ghosted a few times that might be lowering self-esteem. Maybe you're just more distrustful of others. What do you believe might be some long-term consequences from someone who's been ghosted a few times in their life for themselves?
Yeah, just lots of self-doubt. Lots of anxiety, not wanting to put themselves back out there, thinking there's something wrong with them, thinking that, okay, what am I doing? How do I need to show up now to not be ghosted? Did I do something wrong? Lots of question marks. And we don't want to leave question marks because question marks, breeding ground for anxiety. So just so many question marks, I would say. And then just a lot of self-doubt, self-esteem things can happen. It's just, it doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
Especially when it's constantly happening to you.
Oh my gosh. I feel like I've had a few friends, and typically these are people that are on the dating apps. I had a friend that I worked with for a little bit, and it seemed like anytime she was about to meet up with a guy on a date, they wouldn't show up. This happened a few times, and it was so sad to see because she would be getting excited about these people, and then they just wouldn't show up at the last minute, which is totally unfair. On the opposite side of that, I'm really interested if you have advice, and I want to talk about this within a self-awareness lens for people. I think of an example of someone who might have no filter, and they be offending people right, left, anybody, everybody, mama, daddy, children, anybody. No one is safe from this person, but they're not aware that they're doing it. And so pretend this person has been ghosted by the last 5 or 6 guys that she's been on a first date with. And she's like, what's going on? Like, these guys are such losers. And then her friends are kind of looking like, well, girl, what are you saying on these dates? How can people become more self-aware within a situation of ghosting to make sure that they're not someone who is pushing more into the problem of them potentially being ghosted? And I'm using self-awareness as an example just because I think of someone who really may not know that they're doing or saying things that might be making someone feel uncomfortable or unsafe, that they might need to set that boundary with them. How can people become more self-aware to make sure that they're not doing anything that's putting them into place in terms of being ghosted?
Oh my gosh, that's a good one. I hope you have friends in your life that you trust. Because if you can ask your friends about your blind spots, like someone you trust, someone who's not out to get you, usually or a family member. I would say some people stay away from family members.
That's true.
Because family members only know you in how they want to see you, you know?
Yeah.
With friends, maybe you have good friends that can like, hey, what do you think are some of my blind spots? Like you see me interacting through the world. You see me like when we first became friends. Is there anything that was kind of off-putting or anything I did that was like, oh, I don't want to be this person's friend? Like, what do you observe of me out in the world? Or hit up an ex, a safe one.
Oh.
Yeah, like a safe one. Maybe there's an ex you're still kind of cool with or whatever. Just ask them, like, were there any blind spots or was there anything that, I'm just on a self-growth journey. Is there anything you could see that I could work on
Yeah.
as I'm dating out here.
I love that. Going to the people that can be a little more brutally honest with you and you know it's coming out of a place of love and not them trying to hurt you, I think is very important. I do also want to talk about ghosting within the lens of control. I was reading this article that said how some people may ghost because they have a desire for independence. And if they feel like their autonomy is being threatened, they might ghost to regain control. I'm really interested in your thoughts on that kind of notion of the need for control and why someone may ghost too, if you've ever experienced that or seen that within some of the people that you work with. I've never thought about someone ghosting to take that power back. I've always just thought of it more really in terms of avoidance or them not being emotionally available.
Yeah.
But in terms of more of a manipulative standpoint, I was like, man, maybe people are ghosting because they're feeling someone threatening that their independence in that sense, and then they need to kind of take it back to get that power back. Have you ever seen that as well?
Yeah. If we're talking about from a fear of losing independence and autonomy, I could see that more in a dismissive avoidance stance. Like, it's not to be evil or manipulative. It's more so like, oh my gosh, I might lose control here. I might fall for this person. I can't have that happen. Let me just take my independence back. I would say it's more so that for them, but for maybe a manipulative type of person, golly, doing that to people is crazy. But yeah, people do manipulate in that way where it's like, it is a power thing. It is a control thing. It is a, like, let me, like, love bombing. If it's intentional, like, let me make them, you know, fall for me. Let me do all these things. And knowing that they're going to get hooked on me, now I'm going to pull back. People study how to do that to people. So it's like, maybe from that lens, people are being manipulative in order to stay powerful or feel powerful and in control and boost their ego.
Yeah. I want to talk about that boosting the ego more. And I was reading on this article that was so funny, and they call it haunting. Basically, when someone ghosts you and then they come back maybe a couple months later, maybe like a year later, and they act like nothing happened at all. They're like, hey girl, like, let's grab dinner. And you're like, I haven't heard from you in like 6 years. Like, what are you talking about? How often are we seeing that person coming back into that other person's life just to see if they have access to them still? And it's more to do with their own ego versus them really trying to rebuild a relationship with this person.
I would say more so that's usually what it is. It's like, let me see if I still have access. Let me see if I can wiggle my way back in. Let me make sure I got them hooked still. Oh, cool. They responded? Great. Now I can ghost them again. So it's like they just check in to see if they still have access. So, I mean, I feel like it's hard to tell when someone's genuinely coming back, because maybe they've grown in life and they want to, you know, rekindle and see where things go. But if they left off at a very horrible, manipulative, crazy, irritating place, they're probably not coming back healed 3 months later. Probably not.
When can you tell? And is it that just comes down to, as a woman, trusting your intuition? When can you tell if someone's coming back for their own ego manipulation versus genuine? Is it them immediately just taking accountability, apologizing, and then it just takes time to see if they're really being genuine, versus someone just ego and it's like you see that text pop up and you're like, I don't even want to answer that. I guess I'm asking, when do you know to ignore that person that's trying to come back into your life? And when do you know to give them a second chance? Or not even romantically, just forgive them. You can have a little conversation and keep it moving.
Yeah, I've actually heard stories where people were ghosted. Then the person came back, apologized, took accountability, and they ended up married and everything was fine because that person chose to accept them back. But, you know, trust is consistency over time. So you would have to give it time, because someone can take accountability. Manipulators do that all the time. Some of them. They know how to take accountability in a way that sounds like they're taking accountability, but they're not. So they make you think they are, and then they just do the same thing again. So you really have to see that consistency over time. And then sometimes the ghosting comes from a place of fear. So it's like, if this person is dismissive, avoidant by chance, it's like, okay, I did leave because I was fearing my autonomy was being lost and I didn't handle it in the best way possible, but I do want to work on my attachment patterns. Like, this is something I'm investing in myself and investing, you know, in therapy or whatever I need to do to make sure that's not something that happens again, to make sure I lean into you rather than away. If they can come and say something like that, hey, maybe.
Maybe I'll give you one more chance for that.
Just maybe. But because, you know, sometimes things happen. We're human.
That's
we make
true.
mistakes. But if someone's really just doing this push-pull thing,
Hot
not
and
taking
cold,
accountability,
back and
hot,
forth.
cold, just don't trust it.
Yeah. I want to talk to you within that hot and cold lens for someone that you know, as soon as that text comes up, you're like, they're trying to get attention. They're trying to see if they have access. I don't think they've changed at all. I'm seeing their Instagram stories. It seems like they're this same level of pattern that's like very unhealthy and very manipulative. You did this video and I want people to hear about it. That was really cool. It was 3 ways you can regulate your nervous system to keep no contact. And I thought that was really cool in terms of someone reaching out to you after you've been ghosted by them. And there's that feeling in you that you just want to reach out to them and get that closure. Or maybe they text you and you're like, oh my God, I really want to text them back. But you know this person's not good for you. You know this person isn't your soulmate. You know this person's not going to help you grow in any healthy way. Can you describe those 3 ways in which you're able to regulate your nervous system so you can really keep a strong boundary away from that person and not get wrapped up in their bullshit, honestly, again?
Yeah. I always say start with putting the phone away. Toss it away, turn it off, put it under something that you can't reach or over something you can't reach, put it somewhere, and then you've got to get the energy out, expend the energy. Because if you're in like fight or flight, anxious energy, high, all of this going on, you've got to release that energy some kind of way. So do some jumping jacks, go for a run in place really fast, really aggressively, do some push-ups, expend the energy some kind of way first. So we get rid of the phone, we expend the energy, and then we can bring ourselves down. We can do some calming, some deep breathing, some meditation, just something to bring ourselves back down and nurture yourself. Affirmations like, I don't need to text this person back. I am worthy of healthy love. I deserve something better. If I give into this, what am I really saying to myself? Like those types of things is really just affirming yourself. And then change your body temperature. That's also good. So like if you're like hot when you get high anxiety, cool yourself down. Have a frozen orange in the fridge that you just go grab and hold on to. Something like that. Cool yourself down. Or if you get really cold, warm yourself up. Take a warm shower. So really just regulate your body. And then your mind, you can kind of work on your mind after that. Or during.
That's so
But your body
cool.
needs to feel regulated, at least somewhat.
I love the tangible things you can really do in that moment to make yourself feel better. Can you also use those? And I'm interested if you could expand on those same things for if you are ghosted, ways that you're able to heal through that process afterwards. Those are amazing, I think, in terms of, you get ghosted, your body immediately gets, when I'm in like high anxiety, I immediately get hot. Like I feel it in my neck. It's the weirdest thing, but it's how my body's reacted ever since when I'm a kid where I'm on edge or something feels weird. I get so hot. So I love the idea of like cooling myself off. What are some other ways that women especially can begin to heal after they've been ghosted by someone too?
Back to the subconscious core beliefs. Identify what yours are. So if it's like you're anxiously attached, I talked about that one. I'm going to be abandoned. I'm not good enough. Identify your core beliefs and work on finding the opposite of that. So if it's I'm not good enough, now we got to find all these things that like I am good enough. I'm good enough in this way. And look in the different areas of life. How good are you as a friend and a family member and at work and just being who you are? You're good enough just existing. Okay. So like finding ways to help yourself believe that I am good enough actually, and I'm not defined by this person's actions. So working with the core beliefs, whatever those are, finding evidence against them, and then constantly repeating that. Because it's through repetition. Stuff gets embedded in us by one of 3 ways, or all of 3 ways. Things we repeatedly hear, things we repeatedly see, or things that continuously happen to us. So now you're just going to have to undo that by doing more repetition.
The opposite of what you're thinking, the negative thoughts.
More repetition, more visualizations, more ways you can see yourself being good enough so you're not attributing that person's actions to you and your worth.
Find the evidence.
Find the evidence.
That's gorgeous advice. And I think that's really good advice for women who tend to blame themselves after they've been ghosted. I've done it before. You're ghosted. Immediately it's, oh my gosh, did I say something weird? Are they not attracted to me? Should I have slept with them earlier? Should I have not have slept with them at all? Was it like you just start to blame yourselves rather than looking at the actions of the person who actually did that thing to you?
Yeah.
Why do women self-blame when it comes to ghosting rather than looking at the actions of the person who actually ghosted them?
Right? It's like, it's on them. It's on them.
You're so annoyed. You look back and you're like, I should be pissed at them, not myself.
Yeah.
What's going on? Why do we do that?
It's all the way back to the attachment patterns. Like as a kid, the world revolves around you.
Yeah.
Like you don't see like mom just had a bad day. That's why she's yelling at me. It's more so, oh, I must not be good enough. I did something wrong.
Wow.
Because as kids, we're internalizing everything. It is our fault if mom's having a bad day. It is our fault if our parents get divorced. It is our fault, whatever it is. So throughout life, if you develop that as a subconscious core belief, then everything that happens to you is going to get filtered through that. rather than like, oh, it's the other person.
They're the person who literally didn't text me back.
Yeah.
Wow. It is. I love how you keep going back to childhood, because we talk about that all the time on this podcast, how things in your childhood, especially with your parents, can obviously play a role into that. And I'm interested how rejection kind of plays a role into all of this as well. Why does ghosting feel more intense and hurt more than someone just outwardly rejecting you? Why does someone not giving you that closure, not, you go to your phone excited for your date, them not responding at all, hurt more than that person being like, I'm not really attracted to you, or I don't think we're vibing? These things can hurt really badly, but sometimes the what if of, I guess, what could have happened with that person can hurt way more than the, oh, they told me exactly why they don't want to be with me. So why does ghosting hurt more than outright rejection for people? Because I've been ghosted before, and I feel like sometimes the intensity of my feelings afterwards feel way more intense than a guy just being like, hey, Jill, not really feeling it. And I'm like, okay, that sucks, because you should want to marry me because I'm perfect.
Right.
but it hurts a lot more. So I'm really interested as to why.
With the reason, if someone gives you a reason, it's the reason, period. If they don't give you anything, now you have 500 different possible reasons that is going through your mind, right? So there's no concrete anything. And now you're just creating every possible scenario in the world of what it could have been. And that's going to send you on any kind of spiral. Like, it's going to make you crazy. So it's like not having the answer, you're going to fill in the blank with anything.
Oh, it's like usually, and do you feel like when people fill in the blank, it's usually their biggest insecurity about themselves first?
Yes.
Why do we do that? Why do we always look at ourselves in that way of how other people view us? Like, why do we perceive our biggest insecurities as how other people perceive us? I do it. Like, when I've been ghosted before, or I can feel a guy pulsing back, I immediately go to, oh, he's probably talking to someone who's like prettier and funnier than me. That's like my comparison insecurity of not feeling good enough, because there's always someone that's going to be better to that person than I am, even though I know I have a lot to bring to the table. Yeah. Why do we do that? Why?
We're hurting.
We're girl, it's been a hard 27 years, okay?
Yeah, we're hurting. And it's like, well, if it's not anything else that I logically can think of, like I wore a cute dress and, I texted back real cute. I added an emoji. So it gotta be this thing that's been haunting me for 27 years. It has to be that.
That's so rough. And the spiraling factor always happens, especially if you're not getting that closure. And I think closure can obviously make people feel so at peace because you get your answer. You're not spiraling. This person told you exactly, what they don't want to, what they may not like about you or appreciate in terms of continuing on the relationship. Obviously, when you're ghosted, you may literally never hear from that person ever again. You may never get that closure. How can people get that closure within themselves and move on without having that conversation, that final closure conversation with that person?
Ooh, that's a good one. Just reminding yourself that your person wouldn't do that. They just wouldn't. They wouldn't do that because they're your person, right? So would you want someone who just rather, just disappear out of your life than communicate something to you? Someone who doesn't think you're owed the respect to say something to you? It's like, I don't want that person anyway. If you think about it deep down inside, you don't want them because that's poor character. So do you want someone with that type of character doing that anyway? So it's like really rationalizing it for yourself. Like, actually, even if they did come back, why would I want someone who's possibly going to be doing this to me for the next 50 years?
Why do we keep going for people like that then? It's so easy, right? I think logically to say, oh my gosh, not my person, but I would never do that to someone else. Yeah. And then you get that text and you're like, okay,
oh, they're back.
4 p.m. I'll be there just to the T, right? Why do women continue to stay in relationships or date people that they know are not good for them?
Because you get that validation when they come back. You get that feeling of approval, like, okay, I'm chosen. When there feels like there's a deficit, it kind of feels nice to be chosen. And then also, like, if you've lived a life of proving yourself and proving your worthiness, when they come back, it's like, oh, this is my chance. I can prove that I'm good enough to stay with. So now let me figure out how I'm going to do that. So if you've lived a life of having to prove your worth, either through your performance at school, like that's when your parents praise you, or through how you show up and nurture their emotional needs, through you saying something that you know they're going to be proud of you saying, even if you don't don't believe it. You're just like, oh, mom agrees with that. Let me say that because she's going to love me. She's going to give me a hug. And I want that. So it's like, as you're constantly having to be this person for someone else and prove yourself, anything that feels like a proving opportunity or a chase, that's what you're going to go for.
Wow. You broke that down well. I think one, being aware of how your childhood is so important for that, but it is really easy to get in those situations because even if you know that person's not good for you, knowing that they'll like you in some way for it feels better than stepping away from something that you know ultimately might hurt in that moment's but going to be better for you.
Yeah, and sometimes something feels better than nothing. It's like, okay, well, at least I have them here. At least they kind of showing that they like me sometimes. Sometimes when they pop back up, they like me today.
Yeah.
So that feels good to be chosen at this moment.
Oh my gosh. And I feel like too, what's really funny is sometimes they'll pop back up at times that feel so convenient. I think ghosters love to pop up around holiday season, Merry Christmas, birthdays, Happy Hanukkah. And it made me really think of like dating within convenience because this person has 300 other 64 days of the year to text you outside of these like holidays or special events. And they choose that day that's convenient where they don't have to take accountability to reach back out to you. So how unhealthy is it to date in a way that only is around convenience? Like in general, I guess I want to ask you, like dating within convenience, is that unhealthy for people, especially women, that a guy might be like, she's like down the street from me. I'm not really interested in her at all, but she's close by. So
yeah, people do that a lot with like just convenience, even in friendships. It's like, you know, you're a proximity friend. I hang out with you because you're here.
That's so true.
So it's like, yeah, people do that a lot, but it's about those extra steps people are taking. Like aside from just hanging out with me, aside from Netflix and chill, what other intentional efforts are being put into here? Like that's how you can decipher that because people are going to do what's convenient for them.
Yes.
Absolutely. But then who's going above and beyond that?
That's what you got to pay attention to.
Yeah.
I love that. I have enjoyed our conversation today. This was so much fun. Last words of advice for this person who is struggling in dating, like we all are, and they want to make sure that they're putting their best foot forward so they're not ghosting anymore and hopefully not being ghosted. So what advice would you have for this person listening in today?
Yeah, because I have to relate everything back to attachment theory because why not, you know? Once you identify your attachment style, you can identify your subconscious core beliefs. You can identify your needs, right? So each attachment style has different needs. And if those aren't getting met, you're always going to feel unfulfilled. You'll know your needs. You'll know your subconscious fears. You'll know all of that. And then you'll date from a place of like, oh, well, if my need in this area is not getting met, well, that's not going to work for me in my attachment style. Cool. I can eliminate that one.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, well, I have the subconscious fear, the subconscious belief. They do something and now I'm feeling like I'm not good enough. Actually, that's just my subconscious playing tricks on me. That's not the truth. So once you can identify all of that, it makes things just a little bit easier in how you show up in dating, what you believe about yourself, what you choose to believe about yourself and the other person, and how safe you feel showing up. You just need to know what's going to work for you.
Yes.
And what's not going to work for you. I would say start with learning your attachment style.
I love that. And you guys know where to find Dr. Ibbie. I'm going to let her plug it so you can learn so much more about attachment theories and styles. Thank you so much for being here today. This was an awesome episode. Please let the people know where they can find you on social media, your therapy services, anything else that you're doing, anything you want to plug away.
You can find me on Instagram and TikTok at dr.ibbie, IBBIEARO. I also am starting a new page called The Attachment Doc. So it has like a quote page. You're going to see like lots of quotes and like fun little tidbits and facts about attachment theory. Those are the main things that link to everything else. So I have a course called How to Date Like a Secure Person or Date Like a Secure Person. I have the book Tales of a Situationship, which has like journal prompts in the back. If you're going through a situationship, you can work through that. Just find me and everything links.
You guys know where to find her. I'm going to check it all out. Is the page you were talking about that you're putting all the tidbits, is that going to be Instagram or is that?
Yeah, Instagram, The Attachment Doc.
But thank you so much for being here today. I had so much fun. Hopefully you guys got to know Dr. Ibbie very well today. I know I haven't learned more about ghosting. We don't do that here, so please do not. This unfortunately was our last episode of season 5, guys. I had so much fun this season. We will be back for season 6. If you want your advice shared for season 6, head to my website, www.unlicenssedpodcast.com, or my Instagram at unlicensed advice. Fill out that form if you want your story featured, or if you live in Atlanta and you want to be on a guest and you want to get any sort of advice out for these women who are here today. And of course, guys, follow us on TikTok and Instagram at unlicensed advice if you want to see fun clips from today. But I love you guys. I will see you next season, and thank you. Bye.